Hello, my name is Oliver. If I look really tired, it's because I am. I tried to film this video last night and it didn't really work out at all. I had just gotten off work and it was 4th of July, so the fireworks were throwing me off. Also, my hair was too long, so I cut my bangs this morning so it wouldn't look horrible in this video, so please don't say anything about it because it will hurt my feelings. But today, I'm not going to be talking about how tired I am, even though I might like to. I'm going to be talking about Stranger Things, and it's not going to be as lighthearted as my last video. Really quick before I start, this video is going to contain spoilers for all of Stranger Things, including Season 4, Volume 2, so you've been warned. On July 1st, 2022, Netflix would shatter the world with the release of Stranger Things 4 Volume 2, the highly anticipated finale to the season released previously that year. Excitedly, viewers from all over the world tuned in with one question in mind. Is Byler canon? Just kidding. Well, not really. The majority of viewers were probably tuning in to see how the season would wrap itself up, especially since the story seemed to be fumbling under the problems brought up by the pandemic. However, a large group of viewers watched the last 2 episodes expecting the writers of Stranger Things to confirm that Will Byers, one of the main characters of Stranger Things, was gay, or at least confirm his feelings for his best friend Mike Wheeler. Most of these viewers came out of the finale disappointed at best and angry at worst, calling out Netflix and the writers of Stranger Things for queerbaiting its audience. This begs the question, was Netflix really queerbaiting its viewers? But before I answer that question, I have to explain what queerbaiting is. According to Wikipedia, queerbaiting is a marketing technique for fiction and entertainment in which creators hint at, but then do not actually depict, same-sex romance or other LGBTQ representation. If you've never heard of this term, I wouldn't be surprised. It's only been in usage since around 2015, and it only really gained popularity during July 2021. See, before most people knew what queerbaiting was, everyone lived in denial when their OTP didn't get together on their favorite show. Flashbacks to the John Locke conspiracy. If you've already seen Stranger Things 4, including the press circuit that the actors did, you can pretty much see that this definition of queerbaiting fits pretty perfectly into what Stranger Things has already done. If you haven't seen the press circuit, I'm going to be going over that later in this video. Other examples of shows that have been accused of queerbaiting are BBC's Sherlock, Supernatural, and Voltron Legendary Defender. Also included in the Wikipedia page for queerbaiting is Sesame Street for queerbaiting with Bert and Ernie, which is just so funny. I think between you and me, we all know what was going on with Bert and Ernie. Also, while doing research for this video, I saw that Stranger Things was already on the Wikipedia page for queerbaiting, so just a note. Another interesting note about queerbaiting is that shows that actually include queer representation can still be labeled as queerbaiting shows. What I mean by this is sometimes pieces of media will wait until the very, very last minute in order to showcase any actual queer representation. For example, after Supernatural got so much heat for queerbaiting a relationship between Castiel and Dean Winchester, they actually had Castiel confess his feelings for Dean Winchester before promptly dying, which is a choice. Now that we know kind of what the basics of queerbaiting is, I can go into whether or not Stranger Things itself was actually queerbaiting. Before I say my piece on whether or not the show was queerbaiting or not, I just wanted to give this quick disclaimer to not attack anybody in the cast. I've seen a lot of people on social media blaming people like Finn Wolfhard and Noah Schnapp for the queerbaiting done in the show, and it is not their fault at all. The actors have no actual input on how the season ended or where the show's going, so please don't attack any of the actors or people that I mentioned in this video. If you remember the Wikipedia definition I listed for queerbaiting, one of the main things that probably stood out to you about the definition is that queerbaiting is a marketing technique, or more simply put, a way of advertising to queer viewers. While this isn't always the case, this is most arguably the case with Stranger Things 4, specifically with their marketing practices. For example, promotional posters released for Volume 2 always included Will and Mike very close to each other or directly adjacent from each other. The main controversy from what I've collected was over these posters, which feature all 4 different storylines from Stranger Things 4. As you can see, Joyce and Hopper are looking at each other in their poster, and Spoiler alert, they get together at the end of the 4th season. Lucas and Max are the two characters highlighted in their poster, and guess what? They also get together at the end of the season. In the poster with Will and Mike, they're looking at each other just like the other couples in the season, but instead, nothing really happens between them. When I say nothing really happens, nothing really does happen. In the season finale, the most that happens to them is Will uses his love for Mike as a way to further progress Mike and Eleven's relationship, which was a very controversial choice by the writers. I think the biggest form of queerbaiting marketing that they did comes from an interview from the press circuit that was released on Netflix's Mexico account on Instagram. In the video, Finn Wolfhard, David Harbour, Winona Ryder, and Caleb McLaughlin discuss different fan theories that have been submitted, I guess, to the Netflix account about season 4. One of the fan theories that is brought up is that Eleven and Will would start a relationship with each other romantically.
Will and Eleven will start a romance and hide it from Mike. Oh my god.
Will and Eleven will start
What?
a romance and hide
Breaking
it
the
from Mike.
group's main rule, Friends Don't Die?
Don't lie.
I mean, lie.
Oh, friends don't die either.
In which David Harbour and Finn Wolfhard reply to the theory with this.
Wait a minute. If you've been watching the show, you should know that Will is not interested in Elle. He's interested in someone else in the group.
Yeah, and you'll see soon that he's interested in.
He's very interested.
Yeah,
Will
basically.
wants to be in the basement with Mike playing D&D for the rest of his life.
Exactly, and he said that.
When I first saw this clip, my mind exploded. I thought that this was absolute confirmation that Will was going to be confirmed gay in this season. With the way that the actors are walking on eggshells around truly giving their full thoughts, it kind of seemed like it was a spoiler that Will was going to be confirmed gay in that season or in the finale. Even the specific mention of Mike seemed like it was confirmation that something would happen between Will and Mike that season, in which, again, nothing happens. There's also another clip of Finn Wolfhard being asked whether or not Byler would become canon in this season, in which Finn Wolfhard definitely not suspiciously replies with this.
Possibility of Byler.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't know. I don't know really because of, we're pretty early into it, but yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
That doesn't really add a lot to the queerbaiting marketing. I just think that video was so funny and everybody needs to see it. Shout out to Claire for showing me that video. Other statements from the cast also include Noah Schnapp, who plays Will, outrightly saying that he ships Byler, which is Mike and Will, on multiple occasions. On his Twitter, he wrote, "Season 4 has me shipping Byler over anything, Volume 2 now." When asked about this tweet at AwesomeCon, Noah Schnapp replied with this.
Hi Noah, my name is Madison, I'm from Maryland. So you kind of already answered my question, but so a lot of people were freaking out over your last tweet, so I basically just want to know if that was you or if you were hacked again.
What was my last tweet?
You said that you should be Byler.
No, that wasn't it. I wasn't hacked.
Yeah, but you were hacked before, like 2 years.
Oh yeah, that was, yeah, I could not get into my Twitter for a long time. But now it's me tweeting, and I do ship Byler. Yeah.
What's your favorite ship from Stranger Things and seasons?
I don't have I have a bunch. Obviously Byler is just at its peak right now. They're building that up, so definitely ship that.
While this interview and tweet aren't really forms of marketing for Stranger Things 4, fans were very hopeful that Byler was going to at least go somewhere in Season 4, since Noah Schnapp seemed to outrightly support Byler and alluded to wanting it to happen on screen. Again, this isn't really marketing or queerbaiting. I just wanted to point this out because it made fans very hopeful that it was going to happen. Another statement from the crew of Stranger Things that tried to heavily imply Byler happening in Season 4 comes from the show's producer, Sean Levy. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly about whether or not Will was gay, Levy replied with this. Without getting into where we go later in Season 4, I guess I'll just say that there aren't many accidents on Stranger Things. There is clear intention and strategy and real thought given to each and every character. So if you came away from Volume 1 feeling those breadcrumbs of a plot and character, it's probably no accident. Seeing as this wasn't a direct shutdown of the question left fans very hopeful that this plotline was actually going to go somewhere in Season 4. A lot of people were like, well, if there's no mistakes in Season 4 and this is pretty obvious on screen, that means it must be going somewhere in the finale, right? Wrong. It didn't go anywhere. Even the way Levy answers the question makes it seem like the way he answers this could give away a spoiler from the finale, or at least that it was going to be touched on later in the season. I think you can see a pattern starting to emerge when I say, literally nothing happens. From the examples shown time and time again, the cast has hinted at something happening between Will and Mike in Season 4, whether it be Will being confirmed gay, coming out, or even Byler happening for some reason. When in reality, nothing is explicitly stated about Will or his relationship with Mike. All of the interactions between Will and Mike are just up for interpretation, as nothing is really stated, just heavily implied. As a viewer of Stranger Things, it kind of feels like the Duffer Brothers included enough of a subtext that Will has a crush on Mike to keep queer viewers pleased, while not saying anything explicit as to keep homophobic viewers at bay. This brings us to our conclusion. Is Stranger Things 4 really queerbaiting? My short answer is yes. As stated previously, labeling something as queerbaiting is not as simple as it may seem. The tricky part about answering our question here is that Stranger Things still has a final 5th season that is yet to be released. Honestly, I think that if the writers get their shit together, which I doubt they will do, as queer representation is probably the least of their concerns, I think a lot of the stuff I go over in this video will be irrelevant by the time Season 5 is released. However, keeping in mind all the problems brought up by the pandemic and the way that they wrote Will's character in Season 4, it's most likely that they're going to pull a Rise of the Skywalker and just include Will with a partner in the background for like 5 seconds before cutting to a live Demogorgon reaction. Sorry about the shitty video quality. I didn't want to have to get out my camera and record another thing again, but this video was recorded before the Duffer Brothers released a lot about what Season 5 was going to contain, and apparently from what they've said, Season 5 is going to be pretty much all about Will. So I redact this statement. I don't think they're going to pull a Rise of the Skywalker if it's going to be all about Will, but this joke is so funny that I felt the need to keep it in. Another thing I wanted to say before I get into my long-form explanation on why Stranger Things was queerbaiting is that Will is undeniably gay. And you may be thinking, Oliver, aren't you contradicting yourself right now? Well, I kind of am, but let me explain. The way that Will is portrayed in Season 4 heavily indicates that he has a crush on Mike and is struggling with it, whether it's explicitly stated or not. If you're paying any attention to the show and you're not an outright homophobe, it's actually pretty obvious. However, I would still argue that the show is queerbaiting based on the following evidence. The way the Netflix team went around advertising Season 4 to viewers made it inherently seem like Will was absolutely going to be confirmed gay specifically in this season, which classifies it in my book as queerbaiting. The advertisement and press circuit made it specifically so queer fans would get excited for the season finale, expecting there to be some sort of queer representation in it, when in reality, they never delivered on it. It would be absolutely wonderful to see some sort of queer representation with Will and Robin, which is a whole nother can of worms, in the 5th season, but that doesn't change that the marketing for the 4th season directly hinted that queer representation was going to happen that season, and it didn't. On TikTok, Noah Schnapp made a reply to people who were mad that Will didn't come out as gay this season with this. First of all, it's the 80s and the kid is a freshman in high school. Let them slowly develop the plot, and when he does come out, it will be really special and real. While I agree with this, I don't think most fans were mad that Will didn't come out, and if they were, that's incredibly immature. Instead, I think most people were upset that there was no real confirmation that Will was gay after the cast so heavily implied it would happen in Volume 2. Again, agreeing with Noah, the era in which Stranger Things takes place should absolutely be taken into consideration with how Will's coming out story unfolds. But just because it takes place in the 80s doesn't mean that the Stranger Things writers didn't need to clearly follow up about Will's sexuality. All in all, the ending to Stranger Things 4 was very controversial, whether we're talking about Byler or not. With queer audiences outraged at the queerbaiting marketing done by Netflix and its writers, one can only hope that they get their shit together and Season 5 is a hell of a lot more watchable, with less plot holes and better queer representation. And remember, no matter what happens, Will is gay and Mike is bi, just like this TikTok points out. As Tumblr user Missing Girls writes, Mike's queer through pure accident and shit writing. LMAO, diversity win. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe. I don't think this channel is going to be only Stranger Things content, but I just felt the need to make a video about this. And if you would disagree with me, that's completely fine. Honestly, I so desperately want to disagree with myself because it hurts. Like, it doesn't feel good to be queerbaited. But, like, again, if you disagree with me, that's fine. Like, I don't care. Yeah. Okay. Bye.